Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast.
Welcome to my podcast, where we are going to talk about a lifestyle with dogs and threw in a few life lessons along the way. Whether you're a hound hunter, bird dog enthusiast, running setters, pointers, retrievers, or a flat-out running dog junkie, this podcast is for you. I am your host, Heath Hyatt, a certified law enforcement canine trainer with over 3 decades of personal and professional training and handling experience. It's time for me to pay it forward. So grab your leads, lace up those boots, and come and join me on this lifelong process of teaching, training, and learning. Do you like to be outdoors like I do? If so, unlock the wilderness with onX Maps. It is your ultimate guide to exploring, hunting, and conquering the great outdoors. With detailed maps, real-time tracking, and exclusive access to public and private lands, onX Maps is your key to adventure. Discover the possibilities and never get lost again with onX. So subscribe today using the promo code K920. Letter K, number 920, and know where you stand. So we are coming live from a cabin nestled in a holler. And when I say holler, it kind of brings you back to Loretta Lynn in this Kentucky hollers, because that's where we are at. Right smack dab in the heart of the bluegrass land. And when I say we are in the middle of nowhere, I can't even see where nowhere is from here. But it is, I say I'm blessed all the time, and I know you guys probably get tired of hearing that. But I can't find another word that describes how I feel a lot of times. So I'm in Kentucky with Jerry Barker, and we've been turkey hunting a couple days. We'll round out our last day tomorrow. We've been bass fishing. I mean, we've been ripping some lips there. Caught several nice bass. Now, his son Brandon was catching the most of them, but
yeah, we watched Brandon catch them.
I'm not a lake fisher. Like you put me on the river now, I can hold my own. The lake is tough for me, but I was figuring it out after about 7 hours. I start to figure it out. But yeah, so I'm back to me being blessed to be able to travel and see different country. And I was driving from Jerry's house over to the little cabin that I'm staying in, which is beautiful. I told Jerry yesterday, I could live here. This is big enough for me, and I could just live here and not be bothered, and I'd be in heaven. But I was driving through the country, and this is some country that I've never been in before. I've been to Kentucky. I've been through Kentucky numerous times. Most of my travels take me up 77 and 64 through that way. Has been my travels. I have hunted. Back when I coon hunted, I went to Bardstown with one of my good friends, Danny Cameron, and hunted there several nights. Man, we hunted cornfields. Had a good time hunting with Danny. And Danny come down and hunted with me a couple years. Bear hunted, wanted to see a bear, and that's how we make relationships, and we take people, they take us. But I was driving from Jerry's back to the cabin, and I was just in awe of how beautiful this country is. And I've not been in this particular area, and it's just amazing to be able to travel around and hunt different places. It sharpens your skills really, because you're in different territory, you're in a different area, you're in a different hunting environment. Now we're not chasing, we haven't had the dogs out. We're chasing those on thunder chickens, and they are flat out whipping us. Either that or my guide service needs fired. I hadn't figured it out yet.
I'll take the blame for it.
No, we've seen a lot of birds. We're seeing hens in every field that you turn around.
Yeah.
The old Mr. Gobbler is just not cooperating. We sit up on one yesterday. How long did we listen to him?
Oh, gosh. Had to be over an
It was
hour.
well over an hour.
Yeah, over an hour.
And we got pinned down, so we made some rookie mistakes. We got pinned down right over a little lip of a flat, and he was in that flat, and he would not come to the edge of it. I mean, would not. And I had my GoPro running, and you can hear me on the GoPro saying, 20 more yards, buddy, 20 more yards. And then Jerry had him, he was double gobbling and triple gobbling. I'm like, okay, here he comes, here he comes. And the dude would turn and go away from us, and then he'd turn and come back. And finally, we did the old distract and attack routine. So Jerry had him gobbling. I jump up, run down over the ridge, make a big circle, come around, and I mean, I'm belly crawling up to the top of that flat. So every time Jerry'd have him gobbling, like I'd move, and then I'd stop, and he'd gobble, and I'd move. And I mean, this went on for a long time. And I finally got where I could see him, and dag blummet, an old squirrel was behind me, and I guess he seen me crawling.
He's a rat.
Yeah, snitches. He needed to get that 20 gauge. He needed them TSSs. That old squirrel got to barking, and that turkey perked his head up and started looking around, and then he just slowly turned and just went in the other direction, and he never gobbled again. And he did not see me. Like he did not see me. Old snitch up in the tree give me away, and I didn't know he was there, so that wasn't my fault. But after 2 hours of playing with that bird, we just got out duped, and then we hit the lake for a little bit and fished for the rest of the evening and listened for some more birds, but never did get on them. So that's what we've been doing, and that's why I'm in Kentucky, and I'm enjoying it. And we're sitting here at the cabin, and there's a coonhound bloodlines. You plot guys, we're gonna talk about some plot dogs here in a minute. You plot guys, I'm sitting here with it's the plot big game issue, and this is August of 2007. 2007. So it's been several years ago. But we got to talking dogs last night over supper and talking about some things that, you know, we had a great conversation. And we're gonna have that conversation again because there was some good information in there. And it may not be a lot about dog training, but we're gonna tell some stories. And we're gonna talk about dogs, and it's just gonna be a good time. Right?
Right. Yeah. We're ready.
Wake up over here. 4:30 is not that early.
I'm awake.
Man, I tell you, getting up at 4 o'clock every morning, and you know, we only walked about 3 miles today. We didn't walk too terribly far. A couple of them ridges we pulled yesterday was pretty steep.
Yeah. It was pretty flat today, everything. We could have climbed that one mountain, but
yeah,
small mountain.
We'll tell you the story. So we crossed a creek that we probably couldn't have got across. We hopped a log and shimmied across that thing, crossed into another pasture field, and made a big loop in there. And we're walking out, and I told Jerry, I said, you know what's going to happen? I said, we're going to be down through here calling. I said, that bird's going to be back on the other side of the creek. Well, sure enough, we got about halfway down through this big, long, I mean, like a 4-mile train long pasture field. And hit the call a few times, and I stopped and like, oop, I think I heard a turkey. And Jerry turns around, and I call again, and sure enough, there he is, and he's back across the creek, plumb up on top of a ridge. So we're looking at each other. We're like, not 100% sure where he was at, but I'm pretty sure. And we talked for a few minutes. We walked back down through the field trying to get him, locate him to get a better pinpoint on him. And he just didn't gobble no more. And after I was standing there, it started sprinkling rain. I'm like, I just don't know how dedicated I am
Yeah.
to swim in this creek.
Yeah, he wasn't very fired up. Neither was we. So.
Yeah, by that time. And it was way up in the day by then. So, but, Jerry, one of the conversations we had yesterday, and I got to pitch this to Wes, one of my friends, is we talked about conservation, and we talked about, you know, what the true meaning of conservation is, and that houndsmen in general, I feel like, and now listen, I don't hunt to take animals. I hunt to fill the freezer. Jerry and I both discussed this. We went through our, phase when we were younger where we thought we had to take everything we could come across. And, as I've gotten older, I definitely don't feel that way. I feel completely different on how I feel about animals and whatever. And it's kind of a rule in our house that if you take something, it's to eat. And if you're taking it, then we're going to eat it and we're not going to waste it. And I don't care if it's fish, turkey, we love turkey, deer, bear, whatever it is. If we harvest that animal or fish, whatever, trout, we eat a lot of trout, it's to fill the freezer. And there's no other reason. We're not just out there to do it. But so we got into a conversation about conservation and how we thought, both of us had the same thought, that houndsmen are probably some of the best conservationists there are, because other than fishermen,
bass fishermen especially.
Yeah, I mean, we're catch and release. Like we have the opportunity to harvest or not harvest, and not to set anybody's pants on fire, but like if you're a true houndsman, it's about the dogs. It's not about the harvest itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that's what brought us into another conversation about animal. When we were younger, we thought, our dogs had to have this, our dogs had to have that, if they do it. And especially now that I'm in a different world, like with the law enforcement training, the canine training, and I see the different drives in dogs, and I understand how to, initiate those drives and shut those drives down and do, and I know I'm talking like big words now, but like I understand dog behavior a lot better. And all the times that I was giving my dogs game, I probably didn't need to do that. And you said that you felt like you did the same thing.
Yeah, we usually, you create problems. And, rather than enhancing the ones that you're trying to enhance, sometimes you end up creating problems by, giving them too much game, or, they get to expecting that, and, it creates a lot of problems.
So tell the story again about the one dog you said when you would knock a coon out, what that behavior happened to that dog.
Yeah, well, first of all, I had a little female walker female, and she started pretty young, and she treated 3 coons by herself. And of course, I shot them all out, and she wouldn't take a hold of them. She was just running the trim because that's all she knew to do. But she wouldn't fight a coon. She wouldn't even take a hold of the coon. But so those coons probably didn't help her at all. She's just doing what came natural. Then I had a male dog later on, and he would tree, and you could knock a coon out, and he would sniff it and then go back to treeing. So he didn't need them either. So a lot of times we're just knocking them out for our ego, I guess, more than the dogs. They're just doing, if they have to have that game, then they're probably not what you need anyway. So
and I have a podcast with Randy Hare, and it'll probably air before this one comes out. So if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it. But Randy talks about it's about the chase. It's about the game more so than the animal. And I've even talked about it with my dogs. Like, if we harvest a bear, my dogs smell on it and go on. Like, as soon as that chase is over, it's like on to the next one. And I know people have different philosophies about that, and I get it, and I understand both sides of it 100%. But it's about the chase. It's about the game, which brings us right back into the conservation piece that, we are one of the few hunters, if not the only hunters, hound hunters. When I say hound hunters, so that includes, bobcat, bear, lion, coons, whatever's treeing animal. And I don't know that I can put the beagle guys in there or not. I guess they can just run them, and the fox and coyote, so they can do that too. It's their choice, I guess. But I feel like that we have a better understanding of conservation, because if I take a bear, if I harvest a bear, then I'm not running that one again. If you harvest a coon, you are not running that coon again. And then, then we got into the predator part because we're turkey hunting.
Yeah, right.
We know coons eat turkey eggs. We know that a lot of farmers, especially you were talking about the dove and the quail, the bird dog guys.
Yeah.
They want them gone because they eat their eggs.
Yeah.
If you're
the only value that a coon has is to a coon hunter,
right.
pretty much. So
yeah,
everybody else sees him as a predator, which he is a predator, but I guess he has as much right as those turkeys are out there. So turkey hunters don't like them, and of course, there's not many quail around here now, but quail hunters didn't like them either. So
yeah, so it definitely, we had a good conversation about that and how if you're, well, I'm not even going to go to the deer hunting part because that's opening a whole new can of worms. But like I said, I deer hunt, and if a nice buck walks out in front of me, then I'm absolutely going to fill my tag. But I'm more interested in filling the freezer. We feed a lot of mouths, and like I said, we eat. I mean, our freezer is, we don't buy much from the store meat wise. I told you last night that.
Yep.
Most of anything that we buy from the store is probably chicken. Everything else we put in ourselves. I mean, we raise our own beef, deer, turkey, bear, trout, striper, catfish. All that stuff is what we put in the freezer, and we enjoy doing it together too. So it's like most of it's a family function, and everybody gets to participate and be a part of it. So. In many ways it's I don't even know what the word to use, but in many ways it's such a good thing. So hound hunters, thank you guys for being conservationists, and picking and choosing what you can and harvest and what you will and won't. And like I said, after thinking about it, we definitely are leading the way in that, I think. So then we got to talking about dogs. Can't have a podcast without dogs, right? So we were talking about, Jerry asked, which hunts I preferred. And of course, guys, I haven't hunted in a night hunt since, I don't know when, early 2000s. And, I mostly hunted UKC. And I enjoyed those. And back then, I mean, you'd have 40, 50 dogs at a club. And I know the night that I won the RQE with Roper, Fielder's dog, there was over 50-some dogs in that RQE. And that's a lot of dogs. And from what the word of mouth, what I hear now, especially in these smaller clubs, they're not hunting but a handful of dogs is what I understand. And then, Fielder went to PKC, and so we started running. I registered Brandy, and I was hunting my Walker dog out of Sackett, registered him, and I won a little bit of money. I don't know. Brandy probably had the most plot money at one time because it was that new. Not that many people were doing it. And I know that Steve and I went maybe to Tennessee, and I drew out with old Buckeye Bud in a PKC hunt. And I know I didn't win that cast, but maybe he did. I'm not sure. But yeah, so I enjoy the UKC hunts better, but like I said, I definitely see the value in the PKC. And back then when I was hunting, they were small. They're nothing like they are now. What's your take on it?
Well, I hunted PKC and UKC both little. I never was really a competition hunter, just not my thing. But my favorite part of the hunts was seeing different types of dogs and hunting with different people, of course. But it seems to me like that when I went to the PKC hunts, I drew better dogs, more, dogs that I liked, and the people were, more knowledgeable about the rules, and it seemed like when you went to a UKC hunt, especially these small hunts around here, that you'd always draw somebody that didn't know the rules, but like some of them their first time or whatever. But I always enjoyed the PKC hunts a little bit better for some reason. But I just mainly hunting with the dogs is what I liked about it. Seeing the different dogs, and like I say, I'm not really a competition hunter. It's not my thing. When I get ready to go hunting, I want to go hunting, and when I want to come home, I come home. So.
Well, and that led me to my, to one of the next topics we talked about is, I was like, oh, Jerry, what is your style of dog? Like what if you could pick out a dog, what would it be?
Well, I don't know. First of all, my number one thing would be, does he catch game? Then I guess you call that prey drive, I guess. So you got to have that drive to be able to catch that game. So when I cut a dog loose, I want him to go hunting. I want him to start hunting. When you cut him loose, I don't want him to go a mile before he starts hunting. I want him to, open when he smells the first coon scent. I want him to be able to, move a track, whether it be cold or, a fresher track. But, I don't like one that barks in the same spot, twice. I like him to move. I really like a dog that drifts a track, just kind of barks here and then yonder. I always like a dog with a big locate. I think probably everybody does. I don't care if they chop on a track, but I want a good change when they come on the tree. I like a chop mouth dog on a tree. I don't care much about a ball mouth dog, or a lot of them scream and squall on it, and you can really hear that. But to me, it's just a preference. But I like a chop mouth tree dog. I want my dog. I prefer him, his 2 front feet on the tree, and just looking straight up, focused on that game. That's what I want. I don't care if he sits back, as long as he's, focused on that game in the tree. I want my dog to stay at the tree, regardless. I don't want him to fight, but if he has to fight to stay, then I guess I want him to fight. But I don't want him to be pushed off for sure. I don't want him to start no trouble. I don't want him to, and I prefer, he just move around or even back up. And, I don't care if a dog sits off a tree as long as he's focused on that game. There's a lot of things that, just like, a dog's temperament. I've had some dogs that, just seemed like they wanted too much attention. Just wanted you to pet on them all the time. Then I've had other ones that were just, absolutely all business, and they didn't care whether you touched them or not. All they wanted you to do all they needed you was to take them hunting, turn them loose, and then, they weren't really working for you. They're working for themselves, So I like a dog that works for me, but I don't want it to have to. I want a dog to be satisfied with just a pat on the head, do his job, and let me pat him on the head, and because it's it's kind of it's a relationship, when you're taking that dog and cutting him loose, and you know what he's going to do, and he pretty much knows what you're going to do, and life is based on relationships, so it's not that much different when you're when you own that dog, and you're training him up to do what you want him to do, and if you're not a good dog trainer like me, I'm not. So the best way to do is get a dog that wants to do what you want it to do. So naturally, so those natural ones are hard to find.
Yes, they are. Which, one of the things that is important to me. If I was coon hunting right now, and I told you I've got a little female. She just coming a year old. I've been taking her out, but I've had to hitchhike off one of the boys that hunts down the road. I work with his dad, and he's got a nice little male dog. So I've been taking her out because I want to get her trailing and treeing before I take her out bear hunting. But I don't want to go yonder dog. I don't want a dog that goes 2 miles through there to get treed. And if you've got to go 2 miles to get treed, go a mile, come back, and we'll move around somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't like the dog that for me. And I'm more of a pleasure type hunter now. I'm not the high speed go that I was 20 years ago. For no means. I don't enjoy that anymore. But we're talking about dogs that go yonder, and I'm like you. I want my dog, if he comes across a coon track, take it. And I know that's not the competition world. I know that. But that's what I would prefer. And I don't want a track straddler. I don't want a boo-hooer. I want a dog that picks up a scent and moves it accordingly. And treat, it used to be that, everybody wanted a tree dog. And, yeah, I mean, they're pretty to listen to. But the end result is, do they have a game? How accurate are they? So, yeah, especially big game hunting now, if my dogs sit back off the tree, like you said, sit back off the tree, sit on their butt looking up a tree and just, calking every breath, I'm good with it. And they don't have to calc every breath. But I look at things a lot differently now, for sure. But again, I'm not in the competition world, and I'm not trying to win, trucks and four-wheelers and $50,000 either. And if I was doing that, I know that my wants or my needs would be different than what they are now, which led us to a conversation about Roper. I handled Roper for Steve for quite a while, and Roper was that dog, and I used to fuss at Steve all the time. I'm like, dude, you turn that scoundrel loose, man, he gone. He ain't coming back. He gonna get planted somewhere. And, if you live where I do in southwestern Virginia, it's, you go a mile, you're on top of a mountain somewhere. I'm having to climb 3,800 to 4,200 feet straight up and down, and that was very unpleasurable at times. But I was too young and dumb to know better at the time. I was just following dogs. So, in my brandy female, she didn't hunt like that. She'd hunt, and of course we had to beep collars. I have no idea how far and wide she was going, but she would never strike she wasn't in here. She didn't get that far. I didn't have to walk a mile to hear her treed. So that was kind of the style that I liked. Even my Walker dog, now he'd kick dirt in your face. My Sackett dog, he would kick dirt in your face and go, but he never blew out of the country. He did, if he was running junk, which he was when he was a young dog, he crossed a couple mountains on me. And one of the maddest times I've ever been was me and Paul Hale were hunting one night up at his place, and Pooh got in there and got treed, and he was on top of the mountain. So we had to climb that sucker straight up, go around some rock ledges, top out. He had a possum treed, and I was livid at the time. And of course, that's what dogs do. They do. And then, Paul looked at me. He's like, well, would you rather been running a deer and be, 2 mountains over, or planted up here? He's like, well, I'd rather do neither one, but if I had to pick, this would be the lesser of the evils. So, but yeah, that made me mad. And then we got to talking about, breeding. I had bred, guys, I'm going to tell you, I sold 2 dogs when I was younger. And I told Jerry this last night. I ought to have my butt kicked. I had bred Brandy to Outlaw and had a nice litter of pups. And 2 of those females out of that litter ended up being the high scoring dog of the world hunt, which, I don't know what place they ended up in, but they were back-to-back years. One of them placed one year, one of them placed the other year. And I had a little female named Heidi that she was young. She was a year and a half old. I'd won a couple hunts with her. Just needed maybe one more hunt or maybe a first place. No, I'd had a first place on her. Of course, the rules have changed since then. So I had a first place and another. I just needed another win on her. And this guy kept offering me money and offering me money and offering me money. And back then, I was young, and I blame my dad for this one. Dad looked at me and he goes, "Son, why didn't you jerk his arm out of socket when he offered you that money?" So anyway, I took it, and she ended up hitting the road 2 months later. And it made me sick because she was super nice little female, super nice. And then I bred Brandy to Roper. This is later on, and had a little female named Candy. And this was a training mistake on my part, and I'll tell you guys about it. So I kept my dogs up in the barn lot, up on the hill above my dad's, and I let my young dogs run loose a lot. And Dad had barn cats. He kept 2 or 3 old cats around, bobtail cats around to catch mice. And I'd let them puppies loose, and then cats would be around the water box, and puppies would get chasing them. And this little female, Candy, she'd chase him things down and run them up. Dad had a ladder going up in the loft, and they'd run up on that ladder. She'd sit at the foot of that ladder and just tree her butt off. And I thought that was the best thing since sliced bread. I got this 5-6-month-old puppy that's just running this stuff and treeing on it. And so, lo and behold, to me, and me not knowing, the first thing that this dog treed by herself at 10 months old was, guess what?
Cat.
Bobcat. At 10 months old. My dad was with me that night, and he didn't hunt with me a whole lot, but he was with me that night. We went back on my granddad's place, and she went up a holler, and Brandy opened a couple times, but she didn't say much. Of course, I didn't have a shocking collar, so it wasn't like I could stop her. And she goes up a holler and up into this little flat, and she just comes treed. And she's forever more treed. Locked down, just like what you said, front feet planted up on that tree, just a singing. And Brandy goes in there and barks a few times, but she's not committed. And anyway, we walk around the ridge there and walk up in this flat. Dad shines a light up there in her eyes. Well, I thought it was a coon. So I tie her back, petting up on her, and Dad says, "Come around here and look at this." So I walk up on the upper side of the tree, and it's a bobcat laying in a tree. And you know how hard they are to tree at night. They're not easy. And anyway, so she treed three more that fall. And it aggravated me, so I ended up selling her to a guy down in Georgia. And I ought to have my butt kicked. For that one. That was just me being young and dumb and inexperienced. But I had 2 nice little plot dogs, guys, that I let go. And there's another take to this, so you guys get the full picture. Me and Jerry talked about this. So at the same time, I had got my little Walker male, at my little Sackett dog, and he was doing the same thing at a younger age, and so that was another just contributing factor to why I got rid of the one dog, is because I had him, and so yeah, I let some nice young dogs go just because I didn't take the time, or I was a little bit greedy, money. If I had those dogs now, money wouldn't buy them. They wouldn't be for sale. I don't care. They wouldn't be for sale. But what about you? You done any of those horrible things?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of dogs I'd like to have back. My biggest regret is, not kind of establishing my own line. I had some good stuff that, I didn't realize what I had till it was too late. That, I could have established my own line pretty easily with a little dedication. And that's what I always admired, somebody that, that bred for, a lifetime. And continually improved. And, that's one thing I regret, not doing that, not putting more emphasis on breeding and hunting and training and stuff. Which I've raised a few, but, usually when I raise a puppy, by the time I get ready to hunt, I'm so sick of them that I want somebody else to take them. So.
I don't know. I enjoy, talk about, raising dogs for your, to be able to produce a quality product consistently. Now, we can all, have a breeding that turns out world beaters. I mean, that can happen. But to do it continuously and improve.
Right.
Improve that bloodline or breed, whatever you want to call it. Like, that's a feat within itself.
Yeah, being able to pick out, the best ones and what's going to pass on, that always amazes me. It seems like the breeders, I could think of 3 or 4 pretty quick. They have the ability to pick them young, 6-week-old puppies out, and they'll always be seem like the best of the whole litter. And that's what they use to, continue their lines with. So, and it takes, you got to have a lot of friends and a lot of people to help. You got to have a lot of help when you're doing that, because you can't hunt all them puppies, and you got to have somebody that'll communicate back to you what they're doing, and somebody that you can rely on their communication. So, you can't do it alone. It takes a lot of help.
Well, it's funny that, you talk about that, because Wes and I had this conversation a while back, probably last year, some point in time last year. We were talking about breeding dogs, and you guys know I've had 3, 1 A litter, the mistake litter, and now I've got the B litter. So I've had 3 litters over the past 2.5 years. So the A litter just turned 2 years old. So yeah. So I've had 3 litters. Yeah, so they're 2. The mistake litter are they're just a year old. They turned a year old in March. And then the B litter is, they're 7, getting ready to turn 8 months old. So yeah, so I've had 3 litters. But, I'll just be honest, like I've probably had some good crosses that I've let slip, or due to life circumstances I've got rid of or didn't hold on to them because of my lack of patience. I've had several nice young dogs that my patience has got the best of me, and I've let them go. But I've not been successful breeding. Like I've not, even with, of course, again, we're looking at some different times. You talk about me 15 years ago, just did it to do it because it was, it was a good dog or this or that. And then I went through a spell where I didn't breed dogs for, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And then by that time, my old line has just about got away from me. And then when I realized I needed to pick that back up, it was too late, which I just made a cross onto my old line. She's a granddaughter of my old ring dog, and I bred her to a great grandson of Ring. So he's got some good stuff behind him. I know most of the stuff behind him, who owns it, what they do with them, and then I know the stuff that's behind my female. So anyway, but I haven't had a lot of success. And then let's go to the 3 litters that I've raised. The A litter, like I said, the mistake litter was a mistake, and actually they've turned out pretty darn nice. Like I'm very, very pleased with the Gyp that I kept. I mean, she's running a track good. She's got a lot of sense. She's got good speed. She's got a good mouth. She's treeing naturally. Like I'm well pleased with that. And then the B litter. But what I've done is I'm keeping that, like what you said, I'm keeping that whole litter, and I'm watching them up to 6 months age, and then I'm able to kind of tell. And I know a lot of you guys are probably doing this already, but I'm really, really getting into journaling traits and behaviors at what ages we're seeing what. So I'm hoping that makes it better or makes my crosses better. But out of the A litter, I mean, I kept 2 dogs, and both of those dogs are running and treeing. Now, can I tell you that they're world beaters? No, but they're doing what they're supposed to be doing at a decent age for my expectations. Like I said, the accidental litter, I've had her out coon hunted her a couple nights. First night I had her out coon hunting, never been coon hunting before, never. First night I had her out, she run and treed with the other dogs. Struck a track, worked an old track with him, and that was pleasing to me. And then, like I said, the B litter, I haven't had them out per se hunting yet. That's coming probably the end of this month, which we'll do a What's Up Wednesday for that. But I've got 4 of those things, and I'm going to be highly surprised if all of them don't do very well. And I've got one that I think is going to be above average, and the rest of them is going to be nice. But we'll see if that turns out right, because, a lot of things change. But so the last 3 litters, I guess what I'm saying is I'm trying to make improvements. I'm being more patient. And, of course, I'm keeping them, too. I'm keeping them, raising them so I can watch and see and learn. And I know again, back to the law enforcement stuff, that, at that 6, 7, 8 month age, you can start picking some things up. And I still think at 6 weeks old, when you're picking a puppy, you're just like, I feel like it's like playing a lottery to me.
Yeah, but you can think of those breeders that always pick the right one.
Yep.
They say there's just several breeders I can think of that people say that they just got that eye, and I don't know what it is, but if I pick one, it'll be the sorriest ones.
Well, Dale Cameron told me, one of our conversations, Dale told me he could, when they were born and he could see the color of them, he could pick out. And I don't know if I believe that or not. Then I was definitely bought into what he was selling, because I had some dogs that I'd got from him. And, I told you tonight at supper that, one of the worst mistakes, another bad mistakes I have, not getting my little Bell female bred and still carrying that line on, because, like, she's been one of my nicest dogs that I've ever owned. And I'd take another and just like her, like right now.
Yeah. You think about that color, which, color doesn't mean much. It doesn't tree many coons or doesn't catch much game, but that's a trait that's, that those breeders have, they've had their good females or their good males or whatever, and they got that certain color or certain look, and then they pick them puppies out that have that trait, and so they probably get more traits, like their mother or father or whatever they're trying to reproduce, So
Well, let's talk about color dogs, because I've thought about this a lot over the past couple years, especially. And actually, when I was driving down here, I was thinking about my dogs and kind of how I've but how I've structured my kennel. And, I'm sitting here looking at this coonhound bloodlines with this plot dog up on the tree here. And, I started out with plots. That was my first dog, was a plot dog. It was a Butch and Weems bred plot dog. Weems bred. And I like plots, and I thought then that would be what I have, while I hunted. And then, my mentor had walkers, and I ended up with a walker puppy. But what changed me and what has shaped me as a hunter is my first bear dog, Frosty. You guys have heard me talk about him. He was a black and tan Walker cross. His mother was a full-blooded registered screaming eagle female, black and tan. A Willie Davis, come out of his stuff. And the male dog was a dog named Spot, which was a registered Walker female that went back to Ball and Barney. And that was my first bear dog. And he looked like a black and tan. And he got his name Frosty because he had white frost on his nose. And he had a white spot on his chest. But if you didn't see that spot on his nose or that white, you thought that was the biggest, beautifulest black and tan you'd ever seen. And I've tried every breed. I've hunted. I've had blue tick. I've had Cameron dogs. I've had some Smoky River bred dogs. I've had some black and tan. I had a dog directly out of the Northern Buck, the world champion, and I had a female that was out of a dog out of him. I had a red bone or two. I've had English dogs. My English dogs were big game bred. They were out of Estill Stillwell stuff, which you guys probably wouldn't even know who that is, but he was an old time hunter here local and had some really nice dogs. And let's see, I've had Walkers, blue ticks, black and tans, English, plots, and a few. I've had 2 red bones. So I pretty much hit the gamut. And what I have decided over my 30 years is that I'm not colorblind, because there's good and all in all breeds. And, what you like, you're the one feeding that dog, not me. And what I like, I'm the one feeding it. And, I want my dogs to be productive and catch game and be good dogs. Like, I want a good dog. And like you said, I want that on the game side of it, but I also want them to be, their temperament. I want them to be like just easygoing, pleasure to be around. So I'm not conformed to a certain breed anymore. Yes, my dogs, if you guys see me posting videos or pictures or reels, most of my dogs favor a Walker dog, but I don't have a registered dog on my place. None of them. And I've got a couple high tans. I like a high tan, but I think that's because of Frosty being the black and tan. I think that's kind of why I favor them, because of him. And then, like I said, the rest of mine look like Walkers, and it is what it is. But yeah, I've given that a lot of thought about being breed specific, and I understand it. But for me and what I'm trying to accomplish, it doesn't have any bearing on what I do. And then that rolls us all the way back into the breeding thing, raising puppies and raising your own bloodline. Like, I'm all over the place. Like, I've got 3 Kemp dogs that come from Mike. I've bred my male dog, to a couple local dogs, and that's what some of my litters are out of. The 8 litter goes back, bred him to a registered Walker female, and she goes back to Trackman. I mean, that's what she goes back to on the top side. I bred him to, it looks like a blue tick female, but she was half blue tick, half Walker. She just favored a blue tick. And, so I just want dogs that produce a good quality of living. Like, they're pleasurable to be around, easy to handle, good level heads. And I think you and I talked about that the other day. I want a good level head on a dog, and I want them to catch game.
Yeah. It seems like the older I get, the more calmer dog I want. These dogs that are wired 440 and they can't be still, and they're just pacing the kennel and jumping up and down all the time at the gate. And then I just have, I like a businessman, when rest when he wants, when he ain't hunting, rest, and when you put him out of the kennel, he's ready to go. But it's hard to get that temperament right. They got to have enough drive, to get in there and get it done, but still be able to I guess back it up too, and maybe suppress that drive a little bit when they're at rest, I guess.
Well, when you talk about that temperament, like I said, I see it more when I see a crazy Mally. When I in the police world, like, it just makes me it stresses me out. Like, I can't like fathom why you want that in your car, barking 12 hours a day, spinning circles, like just flat out nonstop. And why you want that? Like, do you have to have that to get the drives that you need to perform the task that you're asking the dog to do? And the answer is no, you don't. You don't need that. But I think that's an easy pick for people. And a lot of times they see that hyperactivity as drive.
Yeah.
And it's not drive. And one thing that I've learned, and I'm continually learning about it, but you know, a clear head, you can get a lot more done with a dog. A very clear head. Like, okay, when you do this is what we're doing. Okay, I'm not too excited, but I've got enough juice in the bottle to make me go.
Yeah, you know, I had a mentor once tell me that a coon dog or a coon hound was a lot like a mule. I don't know if y'all I fool with mules too, but a good mule, a good looking mule is, you want that wise look to them, you know, and it's the same way when you look at a coon hound, you want to see something in there that you know is that calmness, but got some brains in there. You don't want to look at him and say nobody's home.
Yes.
So, not that rattle-headed,
Yeah. Well, again, I think people mistake that for drive.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's definitely not. Like, you can have, I think about the old timers, and we're in a holler in Kentucky. I mean, there's no other place in the world to describe this. But you come up in a holler 50 years ago, you probably didn't go up to anybody's house if there wasn't 2 or 3 old dogs laying around on the porch.
Right.
And they weren't tied up.
No.
Probably didn't even have collars on them. But when you're ready to go hunting, when they walked out the door with the 22,
whistle,
the dogs was ready to go, weren't they?
Right.
And I see, like, I vision that so much. Like, that's what I want. I want that dog that lays under the porch, and when it gets dark, and when you say, "Come on, boy, let's go," that dog's at your feet ready to bust the woods.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know that's probably far-fetched nowadays, but that's a vision that I guess I've always had. When you talk about dogs and drives, and man, I've had some crazy ones. Like my last police dog, I've said it. Man, he didn't shut down. You put him in a car at 6:30 in the morning, and he was wired for sound for 12 hours.
Yeah.
And he exerted so much energy that if I got a call at 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, most time he was halfway gassed before we even got started.
Yeah.
Because he just never shut down.
Yeah, well, you think about I think a hound has to have some stubbornness, has to be stubborn to, want to figure the tracks out and, not to have any, quit, not give up on him, but at the same time, he's got to know that you're his boss, when you call him off or you train him not to do something that, he needs to learn that, and he needs to work for you, he don't need to work for himself. He don't need to do what he wants to do. He needs to do what you want him to do. But, that's at the same time, it's that natural. If you can get that puppy that does everything you want it to do naturally, then you're way ahead, and it makes you look like a professional trainer.
Well, yeah, and the only thing you got to do to them is give them opportunity and get them off the trash, break them trash. That's it, and it makes
the hardest thing is finding them. Yeah,
and there's not a lot of training that goes into that.
Right.
Unsnapping the lead is not a qualified skill, like, go get it. And they do it naturally. They have that ability.
Try not to get in their way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've had a few of those. I've had a few that were very natural dogs. But they're few and far between too.
Yeah.
They're way few and far between. Attention hound hunters and outdoor enthusiasts. Are you ready to experience the thrill of fair chase hunting? If so, check out Southern Hound Hunting Magazine. It's your ultimate guide to all forms of hound hunting, starting in the flat woods of southern Georgia and covering vast terrains across the nation. We bring you genuine stories where the chase is exhilarating as the catch, recipes, and the brag pages that follow. These adventures will take you down memory lane. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a newcomer to the sport, if it's hound worthy, we've got you covered. Join us in this heart-pounding world of hound hunting. To subscribe or to buy the latest swag, go to southernhoundhunting.com. You can also follow along on Facebook and Instagram, where the hunt never ends. Get ready for the real fair chase experience when you join the pack here at Southern Hound Hunting Magazine. So let's end this thing up, Jerry, with what we were talking about yesterday. Some predicaments that we have been in while hunting. And I got three little short stories that I'll tell. What you got?
Well, I could come up with several, I guess. When you coon hunt every night, or pretty much every night, 5 or 6 nights a week for about probably 10, 15 years. And, you gotta, if you're out there, then the law of average is going to get you. You're going to be, in some kind of predicament. But we had a little female once that got into we had, at that time we had tracking collars, but he kept pointing her in this barn, this real nice barn. It was all shut up. All the doors were closed, and they had a big nice night light out there. Had the whole front lit up, and she's in this barn. The tracker's pointing her in this barn. So my buddy slips around and gets in the back door, and she's got into a gravity bed that they had in there for have a feed in it where they was feeding out of it. And she had crawled up on some hay and slipped down in that gravity bed and couldn't get out. so he had to.
Was she chasing them barn cats?
She might have been chasing them barn cats. She might have grew up at your dad's.
Yeah, you can blame me for that.
Yeah. But I don't know. We've had a few dogs get up in trees and climb them. Once was out over. I had a tree growed out over Cumberland River, and my little female got up in it, and then my buddy and me telling him not to, he goes out there and gets her. But, just a lot of stuff like that. Like we've had them getting caves and holes, and, I remember once we had one that got stuck in a hole, and he's like wedged between two rocks. I mean, he was throwing a fit he was just digging it. And I ran up back to the truck. The truck's pretty close, and I got an old tar or two out of it. And we reached down in there and pried a rock loose to get him out. And it just, if you're out there a lot, you're going to get into some kind of predicaments, it seems like.
Yeah, when you asked me that question, I really didn't know which direction to go with it. But, I've seen coming home from hunting or going hunting late at night, I've run up on several vehicle accidents where somebody's run off the road, or I ran into a real bad one time. Me and two of my buddies, the car was actually split in two. They hit a tree, and the car actually broke off at the motor block and threw them out in the field. Was able to find them all, and in fact they landed Lifeguard 10, which is the helo. They landed it right there in the field. That's probably some of the more interesting things I don't know how many accidents I've run up on like that late at night, but tree climbing, yeah, same thing. My brother-in-law, I sold him that black and tan, and one night we were hunting down on the river, and he was up over an overhang, up in the tree, over the side of a cliff, 60 foot down, and yeah, that's you're talking about making you pucker. Now that'll make you pucker. And Roper got up in a tree one night down in Tennessee. Had to climb up there and get him. He was way up in a leaning. It had blowed over and hit the fork of another tree. And he was plumb out in the end of that thing. Brandy, she got up in a sycamore tree one night. So, I mean, yeah, that stuff just kind of happens. And then, you talk about people stealing dogs and stuff. We were bear hunting and the dogs crossed the state line and went over into the West Virginia. And I spent half the night evening trying to find them on the Virginia side. And this is back when you had the old beep beep collars. And driving up down the road, finally picked up a signal, and the signal was weak until you got right up at this house. Kind of like what you were saying. Like, you get right up to the house, and then that thing would bing, 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 bing. It'd go off, and I'd drive up the road, and I'd turn around and I'd come back, and it'd go off again. I'd drive down the road, and I'd get out, and I'd check in behind the house. So it was about 10 o'clock at night by then, and I finally pulled up there in front of the house and got out and walked up there and knocked on the door, and a lady come to the door in her nightgown, night robe, whatever, an older lady, and I said, "Ma'am, my dogs are showing right here. You haven't seen two dogs," and it was my old plot dogs. It was Ace and Chance, and she goes, "No, we hadn't seen any dogs," and I'm like, "Well, they're showing like right here. Like, if you happen to see them or whatever, will you please call me? The names on them." So got back to the road. Was halfway back to my truck because I'd parked down the road. I didn't want to like run right up on them. And she hollers out the door, and I go back. Well, her son had caught them dogs and put them in their outbuilding. And I don't think they was going to give them back. I think if I hadn't told her that they were right there, I don't know that I'd have got those two dogs back. In hindsight, it'd be kind of like, well, you got one over on you because they weren't world beaters. That old Ace dog that I had, man, you turn that dog loose, he'd get footsore and lay down, and that scoundrel wouldn't move for 5 days. You'd have to go like. That's why I ended up getting rid of him. Is I left him back in the woods one Saturday, went back Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I think by Wednesday, I finally walked over the mountain back into this, and he hadn't moved. And got in there, and he was laid down beside a log, and I was like, "Big boy, you are not going to wear my collar anymore." Anyway, I took him home, and I ended up selling him to a guy. He won every swim race I put him in, but he was, super nice swim dog, but he was the me too-ingest thing that ever set foot on the earth. If your dog run a deer, he'd help you. If your dog treated a bear, he'd help you. Your dog barked at a squirrel, he'd be barking with you. But, yeah, I don't know. There's some of the predicaments. I'm sure there's a lot more. You can get into the hunts and talk about stuff that goes on at the hunts, but, a couple tree climbs, and those are so dangerous. So dangerous. People messing with your dogs and getting out in the road for sure. But, well, I know we could talk about 100 more things because I have them on my mind right now, but we will try not to punish you guys with that. So, Jerry, any last words? Hey, we better get after a bird tomorrow.
We're gonna try.
I'm gonna cut your shirt tail.
Got one last chance.
Maybe somebody will tie one up for us. It looks like it's the only way that. To see the amount of birds that we're seeing, hens, and not seeing gobblers, like I am amazed. Like I don't understand it.
I don't either. It's totally different from last year. Last year they were everywhere. And you could hear them gobbling. I took Boone in youth season, and they were gobbling in every direction. Every direction, there was a gobble. Huh. And I go down there this year, it's first opening day, and I don't hear the first gobble, not one. Same area, and I saw, March 23rd, I saw 11 longbeards in the same place. And
yeah, you sent me a picture. I think you just did that to tease me.
I might have done it. It might have been March 23rd or 23 too.
Yeah.
But no, it was, they were there, and I don't know where they went to, or I guess they're probably still there. They're just they're not cooperating.
No, that's for sure. Well, we heard a bird. We worked a bird yesterday for a while, and what was you telling me earlier? Old Primos and him said, if you hear a bird, it's a successful hunt.
Yeah.
Well, we've had two, even though we've not bagged any. We caught some fish yesterday, so it's not too shabby. I'll take it. And getting back to traveling, and there's so many things that I want to do in life, and my job affords me enough time off to be able to do a few things. And, let's see, where have I been? I've been several places this year already. I get to come here and hunt with you for a couple of days, having, good friends that are willing to take you to different places. And then, we're going to Canada in June. And I don't know. I'm on the fence about Maine this year. Depends on if I can afford it or not. But I got the time to go. It's whether I can afford to do the travel. But, just being able to go different places and see different country, see different environments, challenge yourself, whether it be, turkey hunting in a different place or, going to Canada to bear hunt. Guys, I haven't been up there in I think the last time I was up there was either in 2002 or 2003, 2004, I was in Maine. So, yeah, so it was 2003. 2003 is the last year. Nope, because I was in the police academy. 2002 is the last time I've been in Canada. We may go up there and dogs may not be able to catch a bear. Now, I think they'll run a moose. They'll be able to run them long-legged things down. But, just going to different places and seeing different things and experiencing different things. Like, I'm overwhelmed with people's hospitality and, friendship and being able to do the things that I love to do, which is hunt and fish and see different places and go different places to do those things. So I am truly blessed. I will say that. And Jerry, I appreciate you having me down for last couple of days. And
yeah, I've enjoyed it. I'm glad you came.
Yeah, maybe we get you back up in the mountains, you and Brandon. And
yeah, we make it hard to keep you. Hard for you to keep me out of that mountain. I kind of like them mountains. There's something about those mountains that kind of draw me. I don't know what it is.
That's how it is out west for me. Mm. Like I live in Virginia, but my soul wants to live out west.
Really?
I think it's just the vast acreage of land and, wide open spaces.
Yeah.
I think that's what intrigues me. And I'm hoping in the next year or two, if not when I retire in 4 years, I am going to spend some time out there hunting. Like I want to go out and, I've got several friends that have invited me out to Idaho and, New Mexico and places like that. So the good Lord let me keep my feet above ground for 4 more years and in good health. Then it's going to be on like Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
So,
I've often thought we're doing this thing wrong. We should do the retirement first and then work to pay for it. Because I'm running out of energy. I got a lot of things I want to do, but I don't know if I have the energy to do them all.
Yeah. So. Well, I know. Yeah, I definitely can't. Yesterday, y'all about wore me out. I wasn't. I told you last night.
I was pretty whipped too.
I wasn't expecting that. You're gonna have to warn me next time.
I told my wife Shanna. She says, "You look tired." She said, "Didn't y'all know when to quit?" And I said, "Well, my father-in-law fished, and I used to go with him some, and he didn't care if he caught a fish or not. Well, he liked to catch fish, of course, but he would fish all day long. And I'm just like, get me out of this boat. I got to move around. I got to do something. I could think of a million other things to do besides sitting in that boat and fishing. And Brandon's the same way. He loves to fish. He can just fish all day long. And, he fished, I know he's fished probably 4 days this week and he's fishing tomorrow. So.
Yeah. So I could have done it if I was prepared.
Yeah.
I was not prepared for that adventure. But you know what? That's what it was. It was an adventure, so it was a good one. All right, guys. So tune in next Wednesday. We'll have a What's Up Wednesday in store for you. See you guys then.